Hello and welcome to this Elevate Taster session on poverty. My name is Patricia and I will be presenting the session with my colleague Joel. In the session, we will be looking at the relationship between poverty and health. We will define what we mean by relative poverty, explore the link between poverty and poor health, and discuss the root causes of poverty, including inequality and discrimination. We will finish the session by signposting to further sources of information. To start by giving you some background information, we work for Community Development and Health Network, CDHN. CDHN's mission is to use community development and the power within communities to reduce health inequalities. We have a number of projects that work towards doing this. The Building Community Pharmacy Partnership, BCPP, is our long-running project which supports a community group to work together with a local community pharmacist to address health inequalities in their area. CDHN, through several projects, including the Self-Care Pharmacy Project, is involved in promoting and improving health literacy. And our Elevate programme is funded by the Public Health Agency and focused on embedding community development approaches to reducing health inequalities in both the public and community and voluntary sectors. So we're going to start our session today to think about what do we mean by the term poverty? What do we associate with poverty? At a very basic level, we might think of poverty as having no money or something associated with developing countries and people living in deprivation. We might have heard the term child poverty and children growing up in households experiencing poverty. We may think of poverty as having limited choices about where we live, what we eat, and how we heat our homes. Depending on our experience of poverty, we may understand it to be something that is happening locally in our societies and in our communities. Joel will explain further how we define poverty.
Yeah, so what do we mean when we talk about poverty in this session? Well, we understand it as through the term relative poverty. So this definition is from Habitat for Humanity, and it gives a definition of what relative poverty is. So relative poverty is when households receive 50% less than the average household incomes. So they do have some money, but still not enough money to afford anything above the basics. So this type of poverty is changeable depending on the economic growth of the country. So relative poverty differs from country to country based on the money that that country has. So in simple terms, poverty is not having enough money or access to resources to enjoy a decent standard of living, be that the lack of access to healthcare, education, or water and sanitation facilities. So that's the definition of relative poverty, but what does this really mean for people who are experiencing poverty? So this definition of poverty is taken from the Joseph Rowntree Foundation. And they define it as poverty means not being able to heat your home, pay your rent, or buy the essentials for your children. It means waking up every day facing insecurity, uncertainty, and impossible decisions about money. It means facing marginalization and even discrimination because of your financial circumstances. The constant stress it causes can lead to problems that deprive people of the chance to play a full part in society. And that last bit of the definition there, depriving people of the chance to play a full part in society, is really what we think of poverty and the consequences of poverty being. And the reason we like this definition is because it moves us beyond thinking of poverty solely in terms of income. It introduces the idea that poverty can be thought of more broadly to include factors such as the feeling of being in control of your life and the ability to build and maintain healthy relationships. So this social lens of poverty is crucial in understanding the daily realities of people living at the cold face of poverty. I heard this quote once, and it's really stuck with me, that poverty is the drip, drip erosion of your soul, that daily grind of what it is to live in poverty and how it actually affects your whole personhood. So we will now look at actually what do statistics in Northern Ireland say about poverty. So 19% of individuals in Northern Ireland live in poverty. That equates to approximately 350,000 individuals in Northern Ireland. 24% of children live in poverty. That's around 107,000 children. 18% of working age adults live in poverty. That's around 201,000 working age adults. And finally, 15% of pensioners, which is around 43,000% of pensioners live in poverty. So let's think about poverty a little deeper. So at the heart of poverty is an inequality that is unfair and avoidable. When we think about poverty, a good starting point is to think about how wealth is created and distributed. We all benefit from the poor in that our food, clothes, and technology are subsidized by cheaper labor of poor countries. And at the heart of that poverty is an unfairness that is avoidable. So tackling poverty should be led by the principles of social justice and equality. And I think that's a really good place to start when we think about poverty. People living in poverty often experience marginalization and discrimination, and that harms health. The evidence is so clear. Discrimination against people because of their class, gender, ethnicity, disability, age, sexuality, religion, or parental status, or even discrimination of people based on poverty itself, can prevent people from escaping poverty through good qualifications or jobs and can restrict access to services. It's always important to flag here the skivers versus strivers narrative is deeply damaging and discriminates against people that are living on benefits, and the research shows that that has bad and negative consequences for people's health. And finally, working poverty. So insecure, precarious employment leaves many workers trapped in poverty. So the old mantra no longer applies of work your way out of poverty, because 13% of workers across the UK live in poverty. I'm going to hand back to Patricia now, who's going to look at actually, so how does health impact someone's health? How does poverty impact someone's health?
Thank you, Joel. So as Joel says on the slide, we focus a wee bit more about how poverty impacts health. So as you can see on the slide there, it says 1 in 5 of the UK population live in poverty, and over half of these people live in working households. And it talks about the idea of the vicious cycle that can develop. So poverty damages health, and poor health increases the risk of poverty. So how does poverty impact health? So people living in poverty find it more difficult to avoid stress and feel in control. Living with day-to-day stresses of poverty in early childhood has been found to have damaging consequences for long-term health. People find it more difficult to access experiences and material resources. So we know that money can allow people to access the basics they need to fully participate in society. But it even means more than that. It might be the person who wants to attend a job interview but doesn't have the money to buy a new outfit or have access to transport to get to the job interview. As it says on the slide, 48% of 21 to 24-year-olds earn less than the living wage. A really important relationship between health and poverty is highlighted in the focus around adopting and maintaining healthy behaviours. So for people living in poverty and with an inadequate income, healthy behaviours can feel really unattainable. It is 3 times more expensive to get the energy we need from healthy foods than unhealthy foods. Finally, then, people living in poverty do not have the support of a financial safety net. So a safety net enables people to invest in their future. In a recent study, 40% of people with unmanageable debt said they were less likely to study or to retrain. So the link between poverty and poor health is clear. Taking action and addressing the root causes of poverty must be a priority in order to reduce health inequalities and improve health and well-being. So we've come to the end of our short taster session, but if you would like more information about poverty, we've included the following links. So the Elevate portal includes a wide range of resources on topics such as health inequalities, social determinants of health, and poverty. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation is an independent social change organisation working to solve UK poverty. Their website provides in-depth information on poverty and related topics, including housing and unemployment. And the Health Foundation website contains comprehensive research, publications and reports on topics relating to health and associated information. So thank you for watching our taster session. If you would like to learn more about our work, please visit our website and follow us on social media.